I'm here with Daily Stoic, and today we're going to talk about how to stop worrying. How do we stop catastrophic thinking? How do we stop anxiety from ruining our days? Well, by learning from Marcus Aurelius, that's how. In Meditations, he talks about what he calls the impediment to action. It is review. He says, you could stop worrying altogether right now. You've got two choices. Stop worrying or keep doing it. Happiness is something that emerges out of what you do. If you have any interest in art, you probably already know that art prices have outpaced the S&P 500 total return by 164% over the last 25 years. And while you might think that this is only accessible to the super wealthy, Masterworks is changing everything. There's a connection between the mind and the body. And so if you're anxious, if you're fearful, if you're worried, you feel it in your chest. You feel it in your stomach. Epictetus talks about how it's one of the great medicines. It's one of the great antidotes to suffering. It's one of the ways that we cultivate resilience. And let's start paying attention to what's in front of us, doing what's right in front of us, embracing whatever comes with serenity and with peace. So there's a reason that all the great Stoics, from Socrates to Zeno to Marcus Aurelius, they exercised daily. They knew how important it was. So if you're feeling anxious, go for a walk, run, swim, do whatever it takes. Get the blood flowing, get moving. That's another really powerful way of interrupting these cycles of anxiety and worry and fear. Your heart starts to race. Your body reacts. And Marcus talks about this. He says, the one who is everywhere is not the one who is busy everywhere, but the one who is within. He goes on, the secret to a tranquil life is to be concerned with all from within, to take nothing personally. It's not things that upset us, Marcus says. It's our judgment about those things that upset us. It's our perspective on things that upsets us. So the antidote to anxiety is perspective. It's having the right perspective. It's not taking things personally. It's understanding that we're all interconnected, that we're all part of the same system. They knew that sometimes things wouldn't go their way. They knew that sometimes they wouldn't have the answer. But they also knew that when those times came, they would be ready for them. They would rise to the occasion. They would face them head on. They would do their best, and that's what we can do too. And so by controlling your breathing, by taking some deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, slowing down your breathing, you calm your body, you calm your mind. And this is something that we've known for a long time. And this is where it is helpful to have a practice like mindfulness or a practice like journaling or a practice like meditation. And the reason I say that is because when you're sitting there in meditation, you're sitting there in silence, you're sitting there focused on your breath, you start to notice how much your mind is wandering to the future, how much it's catastrophizing, how much it's trying to figure things out. And you get better at recognizing these patterns. And then when you catch yourself worrying, when you catch yourself anxious, you can just say, hey, I'm doing it again. I'm letting my mind wander. I'm focusing on things that are outside of my control. I'm imagining problems that may never come to fruition. Let me bring my attention back to what's in front of me. Let me do my best with what's in front of me. And then by doing what's in front of you, by being present, by being engaged, you stop worrying about the future. You're making the most of the present. You're creating a good life right now. And the happiness comes out of that, the sense of well-being, the serenity, the inner peace. It comes out of living a good life, not trying to pursue it. And we can look to the past for guidance, but we can't dwell there. We have to move forward. And that's why it's so important to listen to Marcus on this. Don't try to shape tomorrow. Welcome whatever comes. Make it welcome by doing what's right now. So this idea of the impediment to action. First of all, I love that phrase. The impediment to action. I write it down every day in my journal. I put it over my door. I have it tatted on my body. Is this something I can influence? Or is it something I'm just worrying about that's completely outside of my locus of control? And then remind yourself, why am I sacrificing today's peace for a problem that may never even happen? Why am I sacrificing today's joy, today's happiness, today's ability to focus on what is in front of me for some future problem that I imagine may or may not ever come to fruition. And most likely, if it does come to fruition, I'll be able to deal with it. It is one of my favorite phrases from all of literature because it has such a simple way of putting something so profound, which is just because something is hard or difficult or a threat or scary doesn't mean that we can't or shouldn't do it. Instead, it means that we should do it more. Because when we remove ourselves from action, from engagement with life, then we are truly vulnerable. You can catastrophize all you want, but that doesn't change anything. In fact, it makes today worse and it doesn't change tomorrow at all. It's almost like he's saying, why would you sacrifice today to try to influence tomorrow? Like it's very stoic. He has this letter to his friend Lucilius. He says, don't anticipate tomorrow. Don't try to get ahead of it. Don't try to control it. Instead, welcome it as whatever comes, as he says, and make it welcome by doing what's right now. This is such a key part of Stoicism. It's about being engaged with what's happening right now. And that's what you have control over. What you have no control over is what happens in the future. So many people think that happiness is a goal, but it's actually a byproduct. And this brings me to our sponsor for today's episode, Masterworks. One thing that I think is helpful here, and Marcus talks about this in Meditations, is that whenever you're experiencing anxiety, whenever you're worried, whenever you're feeling fear, ask yourself, is this something I can control? Another thing that I find helpful, and this is something I learned from Tim Ferriss, is just to take some deep breaths, right? Next, we need to recognize that our minds are constantly wandering to the future, right? Now, in addition to that, obviously, exercise is huge. Seneca talks about this, right? That it can cure all ills. And finally, you have to have the right perspective. So let's stop worrying. Let's stop catastrophizing. Let's stop trying to control everything.